In this lesson, I just want to briefly introduce you to the concept of contract formation, which simply explores the question, how do two parties go about forming a traditional enforceable contract? Now, if you had never been to law school and I went out and asked some random person on the street, how do you form a contract? How do you go about making a contract? What would I probably hear as a response, right? Most people probably envision when they think about the formation of a traditional enforceable contract, they probably imagine walking into a law office, talking to a lawyer wearing a fancy suit, and that lawyer is going to go and draft this big formal looking document and laminate all the pages, and it's going to require signatures and initials and all of this stuff, right? And certainly that's one way to form a traditional enforceable contract, but as we know, as future lawyers, that's one way of many ways to form a traditional enforceable contract. And in fact, we know from law school that a contract can be formed on a napkin or verbally between two people, right? Generally, unless you're applying the Statute of Frauds, which we'll talk about in a moment, generally there are no formality requirements when it comes to forming a traditional enforceable contract. Again, a contract could be made on a napkin. It can be made orally between two people. You can make a contract in 10 words or less, a 10-word exchange, right? I offer to sell you this dry eraser for $5 and you say, I accept. We'll find that that could be a traditional enforceable contract. And that's one sentence from each of us, right? So the only requirements that we're going to have when we're talking about formation of the traditional enforceable contract are what you see here on the board. Really, all we need is mutual assent between the parties, consideration, and no defenses to formation that would invalidate the otherwise valid contract. So the main takeaway here is that we want to abandon any preconceived notions of what the traditional enforceable contract looks like. On a contract law fact pattern in law school or the bar exam, it's rarely ever going to look like that picture I painted of someone going into a law office and having a lawyer draft them a very professional contract, right? In most of our fact patterns, it's either going to be verbal or between email exchanges or simply oral, right? So we just want to always, when we're trying to decide, okay, do we have a traditional enforceable contract here? All we want to do is ask, is there mutual assent between the parties? Is there consideration? And we want to ask if there's any defenses to formation that could invalidate this contract. And when we're thinking about defenses, we never want to forget about the Statute of Frauds. So from a big picture, contract formation, when we're talking about the traditional enforceable contract, is very straightforward. Only 3 elements that we really need to think about, right? And one important note to make from the beginning right now, you'll notice I keep saying the traditional enforceable contract, right? Why do I keep referring to this as the traditional enforceable contract? Well, in contract law, we talk about lots of ways that an agreement between two people can be enforced. Now, most of the time when your contract law professor is using the word contract, he's really referring to the traditional enforceable contract. But we know, again, if you remember back from our first video, that there's several ways an agreement between two people can be enforced. And the traditional enforceable contract is one way of several ways. Remember, we have these alternative theories like promissory estoppel, a quasi-contract, moral obligations plus subsequent promises. And it's important to note that all of the videos we're about to talk about in this segment of our series, we're talking about the traditional enforceable contract, mutual assent, consideration, and no defenses to formation that invalidate the contract. Now, just because this isn't satisfied, right? If any of these elements are not satisfied, the analysis is not over. Sorry about that. The analysis isn't over. That doesn't mean it's impossible for the parties to enforce the agreement. All it means is that we don't have a traditional enforceable contract. We may still have an alternative theory of enforcement. So there still may be a way for the plaintiff to recover damages or remedies even if we don't have a traditional enforceable contract. But don't worry about alternative theories yet. We'll get there in future videos. But for now, when we're talking about formation, we're going to focus purely on the traditional enforceable contract, okay? So again, our 3 requirements, if you're asking the question on a contract law fact pattern, You read the fact pattern, you get to the call of the question, and you're trying to decide, okay, do we have a traditional enforceable contract here? What do I do? You want to run through these three elements, right? And there's an acronym that I use for this. Remember, I always talk about my cats. We touched on this in the first video. I use the acronym My Cats Do Sneak, right? MCDS. That's why we have that over here, right? MCDS. My Cats Do Sneak, which stands for Mutual Assent, Consideration, Defenses to Formation, and the Statute of Frauds, right? So the way that this works out, all I want to do in this video really is just give a quick overview of each of these elements, how they play out, and then in our next videos, we'll start jumping into each of these elements, right? But this is just the big picture idea. So again, when we're trying to decide, we look at a fact pattern and we're asking ourselves, okay, do we have a traditional enforceable contract here? Can the plaintiff enforce a traditional enforceable contract in court to recover remedies, right? The first question is, well, do we have formation? Did the parties ever form a traditional enforceable contract? We're going to run through that acronym. My Cats Do Sneak. Mutual Assent, Consideration, Defenses, and the Statute of Frauds. So what is mutual assent, right? Mutual assent is just like this idea that to form a traditional enforceable contract, we need a meeting of the minds between the parties. We need some sort of mutual agreement, a mutual understanding. And how do we decide if there is a mutual agreement, a meeting of the minds, an understanding? We're going to ask whether there was an offer and acceptance. So mutual assent really just means, did we have an offer and an acceptance of that offer? If so, if we have offer and acceptance, we say that there was mutual assent between the parties. And we'll spend a lot of time talking about how an offer is formed and how that offer is accepted. But in short, if we have an offer and an acceptance of that offer, then we know we have mutual assent between the parties. So if I offer to sell you this dry erase marker for $5, that's an offer. That's a valid offer. And you say, I accept. You've accepted my offer, meaning we have mutual assent between the parties. It's that easy sometimes, right? If there's an offer and if the offer is valid, and we'll talk about how there could be an invalid offer, but assuming that the offer is valid and the acceptance of that offer is valid, then we have mutual assent between the parties. We're ready to ask, well, is there consideration? To overview consideration, right? And we'll have several videos on consideration. The main idea here is that thank you so much for watching this video preview of our Legal Education Accelerator Program, or LEAP for short. If you would like to see the conclusion of this video and gain full access to our entire 1L and 2L video library, integrated outlines, streamable audio versions, additional practice exams with explanations, and much more, we invite you to head over to our website and join the thousands of law students who have already enrolled. To get started with your no-risk free trial today, simply click the link in the description box below or visit www.studicata.com/leap.
Hi everyone, my name is Serena and I'm currently a law student at South Texas College of Law, Houston.
Hi everybody, my name is Shiva and I'm currently a law student at Southwestern.
Hi everyone, my name is Michelle and I am a first-year student at South Texas College of Law, Houston. I used the Studicata study video series last semester to help me prepare mostly for contracts, and I actually made an A+ in contracts last semester, which I greatly dedicate to the Studicata videos.
By using Studicata to help me prepare for my final exam, I was able to score the highest grade out of my class on the final and even have my essay distributed as the model answer. Not to mention I had done quite poorly on the midterm and was struggling throughout the whole course of the semester, understanding the material and keeping up with lectures.
Because of the Studicata video lectures, I was able to go into my exams with a feeling of confidence. I didn't have to worry about what the rules of law were or how I was going to organize my answer to an essay question.
I would absolutely recommend the Studicata series and their online course materials to anyone. I think that they are not like professor lectures that you might find online or other outside study materials that you may encounter. I think that the Studicata videos really focus on not only ensuring that you understand the material that you're going to encounter on your final, but they also help you to understand kind of the best method for test taking, and they really break down how to approach each problem and the best ways to tackle certain methods on testing, and I think that's really important, and I think it's really special. I don't see that anywhere else in any of the other online resources that I've found. So I would certainly recommend Studicata to anyone who is studying in law school right now. Good luck on your studying, and you're going to do great.
I would definitely recommend Studicata to anybody watching this video. Give it a chance. I'm positive that you will love it, that you will get a lot out of it, and that you will be happy that you gave it a chance. I definitely am. I know I will be using Studicata in the future.
And I cannot thank Studicata enough for getting me through my first semester of law school. I will definitely continue to watch the Studicata video lectures throughout my law school career, and I highly recommend that any future or current law student do the same.